Hi, everybody. Everybody loves a good story, right? We love being able to read a book, go through the middle, find the conclusion, be satisfied in it. And a big thing about dog training is I also love win-wins and a good conclusion. I also want to make sure that my conclusion, though, doesn't involve a lot of mechanical things. So a lot of leashes, collars, corrections, things like that. I want to build a relationship. So if I told you that throughout your dog training story that you'd be able to get non-mechanically based behavior, true behavior modification and lifelong skills, would you believe me? Because I'm going to tell you you can, and I'm going to be able to show you can through the various programs I offer, and even just referring out to all the mentors and other colleagues and advocates that do professional dog training and behavior modification, utilizing scientific methods and not necessarily all the mechanical skills that are out there. I am not in any way downplaying other skill sets at this particular time. There are just morals and ethics that I have that, again, what I do is what I do. I'm very successful at it. I teach my students to be successful at it. And I haven't really had to utilize a lot of things that other trainers might recommend utilizing. I like lifelong behavior. So my story is going to start here. This is absolutely the first thing that I recommend and challenge all of my students to do. It is called a 3-day challenge. It is what I call my Awesome Paws Challenge or my Trekking Dog Challenge. I've had it for over 20 years, where it's going 3 days without telling your dog no. Now, there is a time and place for no. I'm going to just go ahead and preface this with positive training isn't permissive training. There are rules, there are structure, there are guidelines. It's not, in any way, shape, or form just permissive. And I think that that's where a lot of other trainers might get in this groove of like, oh, it's all about hot dogs and treats, and it's not. So what I'm going to tell you is that there are rules and structure and guidelines. There are rewards. You are learning to earn certain things. You're getting access to things because you're doing certain behaviors, but that's ultimately what we do as well. So think about, if you didn't get paid where you were working, would you still work there? You might love your job enough, but eventually your bills are going to be due. So we all work for things. We all actually get reinforced by things, and we all change our behavior based on certain things. I'm an advocate of changing behavior based on positive reinforcement, based on removing attention. I'm not going to go into all the quadrants of things because I think it just gets, everybody bored, but being able to actually just change your mindset is ultimately going to be the best story ending ever for you and your dog. So what I'm challenging you to do is to go 3 days without saying no to your dog. But Julie, how do I do that? I mean, like, what if he's jumping on something? What if he's doing something? If it's a life-threatening emergency, or if it's like a chicken wing dropped or a pill dropped, I am absolutely going to tell you that you're going to be human. You're going to be like, no, stop, and pull him back or pull it up and snatch it away. That's not what I'm talking about. In order to teach, that's not when we teach. We don't teach in an emergency. You should be teaching before the emergency. The human example is self-defense, plain and simple. You cannot be put up against an attacker who's trying to hurt you or take your life and be successful unless you've been taught appropriate self-defense, unless you've practiced it, became a habit for it, and then worked scenarios where it is more of a surprise attack so that you jump into that habit. That's throwing you at somebody who's going to hurt you is not the best way to teach you. It can teach you, but it could also kill you. So what I advocate is building habits, lifelong skills, coping mechanisms, so that the dog doesn't ever have to worry about when they get put in that situation, because more than likely at some point in their life they'll be put into an emergency situation or a situation that's stressful, and we want them to react in an appropriate manner, a human world manner. They are genetically programmed as dogs. But the very first thing is changing how you see things, because you cannot teach your dog if you don't actually know what you're teaching. And that's the first thing I teach my students. Go 3 days without saying no. So that means if they're jumping on a counter, or maybe they're jumping on you. It's not about, no, bad dog, horrible, stop that. It's actually about removing attention. It's about changing, turning away, not forcefully going at them, not looking at them meanly, yelling at them. It's literally about changing it and redirecting it into a yesable behavior. So does that mean you might have to have some rewards like a toy or some food or something like that initially? Yeah, but eventually it becomes a lifelong habit, and my programs will show you how to do that. But in the first 3 days, I want you changing how you see it. So your dog is jumping on you. Turn away the moment they get 4 on the floor, turn back, good boy, and pet. Go ahead and greet. Some people are like, oh, ignore them for 5 minutes. That's not necessarily unsound advice, but I tend to reward the behavior right away. So that means if I'm getting, a dog jumping on me and I turn away, eye contact goes away, they do not get what they want, which is attention, right? They're looking for attention, but they do not get what they want. And therefore then, as soon as they get down and they're like, that didn't work. Hi, good dog, excellent. They go to jump up again. Nothing. They get down again. Oh, good dog. Very nice. How was your day? Very good. I probably will even follow it up with a yes and pay. I'll go into my program later, my 4-step program, but that's very much simply what you need to start doing with dogs that do behaviors that you don't like. So going 3 days without saying no. That means if they're jumping on a counter, jumping on you, etc. If you don't like the behavior, like barking, why are they barking at you? To get attention. So if you eliminate your attention, not tell them no, bad dog, stare at them, oh, I don't like that. Walk away, go to another room, shut the door. They start barking, you go and leave. That is one very excellent behavior for you to tell them it does not work. So if you live in an apartment, there are caveats to this. You live in an apartment, things like that. Don't do it at midnight. But it will be very quick that your dog will actually learn, well, it doesn't work anymore. So simply changing your mindset into, if I don't like the behavior right now, if it's not an emergency behavior, and again, also if it's not an aggressive behavior, there's safety at risks and things like that, then ignore it, but redirect it then. The moment it stops, you wait about 3 seconds. I have a 3-second rule. So not only do I say, don't say no for 3 days, try to go 3 seconds in between the no behavior that you wanted to say no to, and then actually saying yes and paying. So dog jumps on me, turn away, the dog gets 4 on the floor, look back, good boy, good girl, 1, 2, 3, yes, pay them. My 4-step program would implement telling them off and marking and paying, starting the word associations. So looking away when they're jumping, when they get down, off, 2, 3, yes, go ahead and pay. Very quickly, your dog reads your behavior faster than hears your words. So your behavior dictates theirs. And I don't know, maybe if that isn't explained to people well enough sometimes, but you are the mirror of your dog. We are creating the dogs that we see. Even in the first, 2 weeks of like rescuing a dog and things like that, there could be other issues and packages, and I call it luggage or packages. But I really, from clean slating it, you can actually get a dog to develop new behavior really, really quickly, much faster than a human. Thank goodness. So it's up to us to change that. So go 3 days without telling your dog no. Redirect all your no's into yeses. Now, what happens if they're aggressive or they're reactive or they're going to get into trouble? Absolutely, that's why a leash should be on them. You should be preventing it. If you know your dog is going to rush forward through the door, have them wear a drag line. These are just little tips and tricks along the way to preventing the bad behavior. And that's ultimately, again, we have to change a little bit of what we do in order to teach them what we want in our world. Once we teach it, once it becomes habit, they're going to be backing away from the door, sitting on their rug, no problem. You're not going to need a leash. You're not going to need treats. They're just going to be like, if I sit back here, people come in and greet me. And I stay 4 on the floor, people go ahead and say hi and pet me. Or maybe I don't have to say hi at all if your dog doesn't like to say hi. That's simply behavior in a nutshell. What gets repeated basically is because it's reinforced. So positive reinforcement isn't permissive. And if anybody tells you, including yourself, if anybody says positive reinforcement doesn't work, then you're not using it. I'm sorry, it's actually simply put that way. You're not using positive reinforcement. Its very definition is you're adding something to get a behavior repeated. So you're encouraging it to happen again. That's positive reinforcement. So anybody who says it doesn't work isn't actually using it. And that could be just timing. It could be lack of education behind it, but it truly does work. And that's why we use it. There are other areas that we might have to take away attention or rewards for, different quadrants, of course, but physically having to correct your dog is usually not necessary. And I say usually because, again, if I'm pulling a dog back from being aggressive, I'm not going to be using a pinch collar. I'm a non-aversive trainer. I'm going to lay that out right away, fear-free certified, but I'm not going to yank and crank them away, but I might pull them away. Come on, let's go. And the leash might be tense. So there is a little bit of force involved in that because I want to make sure that the safety's in there. But I'm not going to be pinching them or choking them or shocking them. I'm not going to create a lot more pain or fear because of that, but I am going to try to get them to come with me, to get away from that situation, to have safety in mind and to go forward. But then I know I put the dog over threshold, or we got into just life happens situations, because it happens. We're all human and we can't predict everything. But being able to actually have it where then you redirect, that's where some of your foundation skills like touch or leave it or check it out, those are all the things that we talk about in my programs. But those are other tools in our toolbox that we can utilize, and until they're taught, we can't utilize them. So sometimes it means just getting your dog out of that situation. So that being said, the very simple first step, again, go 3 days without saying no. When your dog's doing a no behavior, redirect into a yesable. That could mean your dog's barking at the end of the leash and you're just like, Julie said not to say no. Nope, don't say no. Come on, let's go. And hopefully my dogs don't come and call. That's good, stay. Because I have 5 dogs in the background here that I'm pet sitting and watching. But being able to actually say, hey, look, we're going to go ahead and do this. And we're going to go this way. We're going to go away from the situation that I think you're upset about. And I'm going to encourage the redirect. The moment they come with me, good job, excellent, 2, 3, yes, and they get paid. If they're not eating food, they're too stressed and above threshold. If they're not wanting the toy that you brought, they're too stressed and above threshold. That means they're not learning really anyway. They're not really going to absorb that information, but you can still encourage them. You can't reward a fear state. You can't like reinforce a fear state. You can't, do that where you're helping them. Again, different concepts come into play, and I'm not sure where they came from, but if they're feeling a certain way, they're feeling that way. Help them try to feel something different. You don't have to become more aggressive to have them stop aggression. You actually, hey, come on, this way, let's go. And if I start taking off, yeah, as soon as they come with me, yeah, very nice. As soon as they're with me, 2, 3, yes, and I'll pay them. Chances are good if they're already coming with me, right? I'm helping them come with me, and they're like, well, where are we going? We're going to go chase a squirrel instead of that person. I'm going to be more fun than that other thing. So I'm going to redirect. I'm going to use my behavior and redirect them into something that I can say yes to. And that is ultimately what my program's about. Stop focusing on correcting behavior. Start being more focused on being proactive, teaching incompatible behaviors, saying yes to behaviors, and redirecting ones you don't like, especially until you've truly taught your dog to do something. And in my programs, dogs don't know something. I love when I hear that my dog knows sit, except they choose when to listen. I doubt it. Your dog doesn't know sit under distractions. You have not taught that. Your dog knows sit in front of the couch when the movie's on commercial. But I teach my dog sit means sit in any environment under any distraction 9 times out of 10 because there's no 100% in my behavior or my dog's, and I will never expect my dog to be more human than I am. They will have bad days. They will be hungry. They will be tired. They will be more reactive. People are too. So don't expect your dog to be more human than you are, but do understand that if your behavior dictates theirs because you already control their entire world, that's what I'm trying to tell you. That's also where some of these things are like, you need to be more leader or alpha, throw it out the window. You don't need it because it's not true. You already control their entire world. Food, treats, toys, freedom, praise, walks, car rides, picking up their poop, the yard time, the playtime, the praise, petting, everything, snuggle time, bed privileges. All of those are rewards. You literally control the dog's entire world. They can't do anything without your say so. So if they're doing something out there, then we need to manipulate it a little bit to help teach them, just like we get manipulated to work for our stuff. And then we go ahead and start learning good habits. And as we get good habits, we get paid better. We get more rewards. We earn more freedom. The other thing about aversives that I like to throw out with this 3-day programs, not saying no, is that when you're using an aversive like no, or physical corrections or pain or fear tactics, things like that, you're actually suppressing behavior. You're not modifying it. You're not actually teaching them anything. You're suppressing it. And same is true with people. We can be suppressed, but it doesn't mean we're actually going to follow the rules. My human example that I like to give is a speeding ticket. You don't have to answer this question, but have you ever sped? Have you ever gotten a ticket? Does the threat of a ticket stop you from speeding? Did the presence of a ticket stop you from speeding for a little bit? Maybe, maybe not. But does the threat of a ticket stop you from speeding? There are always going to be situations, and you might be the 1% that goes, oh, I've never sped. Right. I'm not going to necessarily believe that 1-2 miles over is still speeding over the limit. But does that threat of a ticket stop you from doing it? Now, if a cop pulled you over and paid you every time you were going the speed limit or less, wouldn't you go the speed limit or less all the time? Even with the thought of maybe you'll get pulled over to get paid $100 to not speed. The threat of a ticket, the aversive, doesn't always stop the behavior. It doesn't teach the behavior to change. It just simply elicits pain or fear response kind of thing with when you're talking about correctional collars. But when you're talking about aversive, it tries to stop a behavior or it suppresses a behavior for a certain period of time, but then it comes back. So aversive training isn't actually a fix. People think it is, it's a suppression. So that's again why changing your mindset, going 3 days without saying no, redirect the behaviors you don't like into behaviors you do, pay those behaviors that you do like, teach incompatible behaviors, your leave-its, your sits, your stays, things like that. Those are incompatible behaviors, those foundation behaviors. Again, my programs can go into some of that to teach those things. You have incompatible behaviors, you have a better emotional state because you're paying a better emotional state, you're redirecting them, you're going to actually have behavior change. Judges don't let us bring stuff like equipment or food or treats into the ring. I haven't used aversives. I haven't used pinch collars, prong collars. I haven't used physical aversives. So, right, I on occasion will use no. I will be open in saying that. I will absolutely use no, leave it, something like that. But like pinch collars, choke chain, shot collars, I don't use those to teach ever. Haven't needed them, and I've trialed and competed. I've gotten perfect scores. I rarely go to classes, and then I go into trials. So the judge doesn't let us bring those things in anyway. So whether you're using equipment or using what you already give, I prefer to use what I already give because I already control the dog's entire world. So that's what I'm talking about. I know it's a little bit longer video, it's a little bit more of an intro video, but again, I wanted to explain it because I had a lot of questions lately about how do I start? This is how I start. 3 days, challenge. You won't do it right the first time. Reset every time you say no. Reset every time you say Every time you go nah. Anything that you stop a behavior by saying no to, reset. Now, again, emergency, absolutely do what you need to do to stop the dog from having a safety or an injury issue, or eating a chicken wing or a pill or something like that. Be very careful. But that's also trying to teach you to be proactive. Have the pills out of sight. Make sure the chicken bones are put away or outside in the garbage can, away from everything that they can't get into them. Being more proactive helps you become less reactive, and less reactive helps you have more open relationships to actually learning. And learning is what we establish long-term habit with. That's all. So as always, happy training. I want you to elevate yourself to the next level, live in 4D, and take care.